All right, guys, in this video, I'm going to be talking about training with rep maxes, kind of what that means for those of you who are unfamiliar, and to give you a little bit of a roadmap as far as how to approach that style of training. So with rep maxes, basically what that means is we're going to be taking an estimate at the most weight that we could do for a desired amount of reps, and we're basically going to find out if we can do that number of reps or if we can do less or more than we thought we could. So 9 times out of 10, for the people that I'm programming this for, we are going to be performing 4 sets in total after our warm-up, of course. So those 4 sets are going to be at 50, 75, 100% of our estimated weight that we intend on using, and then I'll explain what that adjusted set at the end means. So with training with rep maxes, I like to think of these, or this style, as pretty self-corrective, because it does get you to work your muscles to the point of failure, which is the objective of training with rep maxes. And it's self-corrective in the sense that if I thought my max was 200 pounds, for example, for 10 reps, and it turns out that I could do actually 14 reps of that weight, then it turns out that I've been training with weights that are a little bit too light for me, and now I'll adjust all of my sets accordingly based on knowing what I can actually do for 10 reps. So when we're training with rep maxes, I did lay out some examples here, and we're gonna start with the easiest, which is a 10 rep max, not the easiest to perform, don't be fooled, but 10 rep maxes, let's say I'm gonna use the squat for example, and let's say I'm estimating my 10 rep max squat to be 200 pounds. So if I come back up to my 4 working sets, my first set is gonna be at 50% of that weight, so 100 pounds for my squat. Should feel pretty manageable if I think I can do 200 pounds for 10. So the first set is really just to get ourselves acclimated to that movement. In this example, it is the squat. So I just wanna make sure I'm taking my time with my reps. Obviously, I know I can do that weight for 10 reps, or at least I hope I do. So that first set is really just to get us acclimated. You're probably gonna have an exercise in between your next set, but that next set is gonna be at 75%. So in this example, I'm gonna be at 150 pounds for my squats now. Still a manageable weight for my squat, but now I'm starting to feel the weight on my back or the front, depending on where I'm loading that squat. I can start to feel the weight a little bit more, and now I can start to get an idea of what it's gonna feel like to push myself a little bit harder on that final 2 sets. Now that we're at our 2 final sets, we're gonna load up whatever our estimated max is for the desired movement and the desired rep count. Again, I'm going at a 200-pound squat is what I think I can do. So now we go to our little chart, and I'll explain for each of our different rep counts kind of what that means. But with that 10 rep max, unless every time you do this, you're exactly right, and you are spot on with your estimation and you get 10 reps every single time, you're probably gonna fall in a certain range based on your estimation. So I have a couple of examples laid out here. And the first one is an example where I only got 5 to 7 reps with that weight that I thought I could do 200 pounds for. So what that means is it's going to affect my last set, which is why we call that the adjusted set. And for a lower body movement, typically we're moving a little bit more weight. So if I only got 5 to 7 reps, if I only drop the bar or the weight by 5 pounds, I'm probably not going to make a big difference in how that weight felt. So for this example, we're gonna go down 10 pounds. So then I would try 190 pounds and try to see how many reps I can get. That is hopefully gonna land me somewhere in this next section, which is the 8 to 10 rep range. This would be basically a successful guess at how many reps I could do. So if I get 8 to 10 reps, I'll just keep it at that same 200 pounds that I guessed for the first set, and I just graduated to a second working set at that same weight. The last scenario is saying I get 11 to 13 reps of a weight that I thought I could get 10 reps of. So I'm gonna increase the weight on that bar by 10 pounds, and that is going to make it a little bit heavier for that final working set. Again, that should land me in that middle section. Ideally, when we take our estimates, we're landing in the middle section, depending on how many reps we're going for. But the more you train, the more you get a better idea for what your limitations are. Before I move on and explain the other two, it's really important when training with rep maxes that you're definitely pushing your limits on how far you can go before you hit complete muscle failure. Now, there's certain movements like the bench press or the squat, for example, that having a spotter can definitely make it a lot easier to push yourself to that absolute limit. The more you train, the more you get a better idea for what your real limit is. But if you're new to training, you'll be pretty surprised that your body is pretty capable of pushing itself really hard beyond what you may have thought initially or what you may be feeling in the moment. Your muscles and your body have a certain drive about them if you're able to unlock that. So make sure you work hard whenever training with rep maxes. Moving on to our second example, we're going to be working with a 6 rep max. So now a little bit less reps, a little bit easier to work with as far as our windows. And we're going to go with the bench press as an example. And because I'm not that great at math, we're going to go with 200 pounds again, just to make it a little bit easier. So what we have are our 3 windows. So now we're going for 6 reps. So if I'm a little bit shy of my goal and I only get 3 to 4 reps, I'll drop that weight down by 5 pounds because again, we're working with an upper body movement and a lower rep count. So changing that bar or that weight by only 5 pounds is actually going to make a pretty significant difference and allow me to land somewhere in that ideal range, which for a 6 rep max would be between 5 and 7 reps. If you're getting that many reps, just stick with the same weight and try to beat or match that score on your last set. And then that brings us to our final example, 8 to 10 reps, we would jump up 5 pounds. Same rationale as why we would jump down 5 pounds. That's going to make the bar feel just heavy enough to make us land somewhere in that 5 to 7 range. And that is how we do for a 6 rep bench. Last example I have is a 3 rep max press, just a military standing press, going with 150 pounds. 3 rep max is not one that I'm going to prescribe for a whole bunch of people, but if you're ever faced with it, say you're that rare client that I have that's really focused on going heavier for a specific movement, this one's really, really simple. So 3 reps is ideally what we're trying to get. If I'm in the bottom range, I either didn't lift the weight at all or I only got it one time. In that case, I'll go down 5 pounds. If I got 2 to 4 repetitions, I'll stay at the same weight. And if I got 5 or 6 repetitions and really surprise myself, I'll jump that weight up either 5 or even 10 pounds if you're feeling a little bit good about it. With that being said, training with rep maxes is probably one of the simplest ways to get stronger at a said movement, so long as you are pushing your limitations on how many reps you can get for each of these exercises. A lot of us are going to be in this 6 or 10 or even 15 rep max range, just because that provides the most overall benefit for our bodies. But when we're training with rep maxes, make sure you are definitely training hard so that you get the added benefit of all those strength gains.